Tariffs.
Tariffs.
It's April 7, 2025, and new tariffs have taken effect in the United States, and the whole motorcycle industry is affected. The riders, the builders, the brand names that we all know of, everybody's in for a wild ride. I just want to make something very clear, guys. This is not a political video. We're putting all the politics aside. These new things that are going on right now affect all of us in the industry, you the rider, the enthusiast, and the consumer. And I want to get the discussion going. The comment section down below is where you want to put your thoughts and what you think of this whole situation that's going on. So let's get the discussion going. Let's talk about the countries, because as far as we're concerned, there's very little things, unfortunately, that is produced in the United States for the motorcycle industry. And all countries that are shipping stuff to the United States is now imposed to a 10% import tax. But there is some parts, regions, and countries in the world that are affected more. So in terms of the European Union, which almost all of our products are sourced from, there's an additional 20% import tax. And in terms of Japan, there's 24% import tax. And I'm bringing out Thailand. We don't deal with Thailand whatsoever, but we'll get to it. Thailand is subject to 36% import tax for the products that they ship into the United States. Let's talk about Japan, 24%. What does this mean in terms of the motorcycles? An R1 that comes into the United States, or that used to come into the US, that was being sold for $17,000. If you take 24% of that, that's rightly around $4,000 of additional taxes that are going to be applied to it. We still don't know if the manufacturers are going to pass all these through to the customers, but we know that most of it will have to get passed through because there's not a whole lot of margins when you sell products or even motorcycles. So an R1 that used to cost $17,000 for us to purchase will easily cost $20,000 to $21,000 now. And if you want to look at the high-end level of the motorcycles, an R1M that costs $29,000 will easily cost upwards of $34,000 to $35,000. Let's talk about the European Union now, which Ducati, BMW, and some other brand names like KTM come out of. It's not as bad, but 4% makes little to no difference in that case because they're subject to a 20% import tax. So if you take a look at, let's say, a Ducati Panigale V4, the base model that was $27,000 in change, will easily now cost over $30,000, $31,000. And the S model, which was I think around $33,000 to $34,000, will come very close to $40,000. I want to also mention that as of filming this video on April 7th, the price adjustments haven't happened because everyone's still in shock and everyone's trying to figure out what's going on. But someone from Ducati had mentioned that within a month, expect the Ducati prices to rise 20%. The special editions that they announced at the beginning of this year, stuff like the Tricolore Italia that had a crazy price tag of $85,000, those can be as close to 100 grand as possible. We really don't know what this really means for the industry. We'll probably try to make some conclusions at the end of the video, but just think about it. A bike that was $27,000, which was pretty pricey to begin with, is now going to be over $30,000. And let's talk about Thailand, because I mentioned Thailand for a very specific reason. It's not in our realm, but if you're a Triumph rider or a Scrambler Ducati rider, those vehicles are made in Thailand. So Thailand is subject to 36% import taxes. You're going to take all of these affordable motorcycles that is in the Scrambler lineup at 36%. So give or take, if a Scrambler was costing you $10,000, $14,000, and some of the models are very popular, these are going to cost $3,000 to $5,000 more, which is mind-blowing. And I want to veer off a little bit to give you guys the severity of the impacts. Jaguar and Land Rover, who are automotive manufacturers, have already stopped all exports to the United States because they don't think the additional taxes that are going to be imposed on their vehicles is going to allow them to be even able to sell these vehicles in the United States to the consumers. So this is pretty crazy right now. We hope things will settle. So as you can see, these are pretty dramatic changes in the industry. And as far as we're concerned, we hope things settle, but the world as we know it might have already ended of shipping goods to the United States and not being subject to taxes. We all have to brace for the impact to see how it's going to affect us. Now that we talked about the impacts on the motorcycles, let's talk about the impacts on the parts. Because this is deeply ingrained in our culture in the United States. We love to personalize everything. Our cars, our motorcycle, our clothing, and nobody leaves motorcycle stock. And in terms of Motomillion, we thrive to give you guys the best possible products, and this means almost everything that we offer comes out of Europe for you guys, with a small exception of very select products that are produced here in the US. Almost everything else that we sell is produced in the European Union. This means all of these products that are made in the European Union will be subject to at least 20% of import tax when they enter into the country here in the United States. Obviously, as a consumer, you will not see an invoice for your product plus an import tax on it. These will all be embedded into the prices that you see, and get ready for prices to increase on some of your most favorite products. We're expecting at least a 10% increase because we're waiting for manufacturers to soak a little bit of this new taxes that are imposed. We as a company will soak a little bit too, but I want to mention something. Unlike popular belief, if you buy a product for, let's say, $10, we're definitely not making $5 out of it. The margins are very tight, and this is why the impact of changes into the import rules into this country will be so great with everything that we purchase, including motorcycles and their parts. So for example, an Akrapovic exhaust that was costing $2,000, I'm confident to say that's now going to be probably around $2,200 or more. We haven't had any communication from anyone in the industry that has indicated the prices will go up. But as I mentioned earlier, it's inevitable because there's not much room left for us to make money and for the manufacturers to make money to stick to old pricing. Obviously, the price is going up for everything in terms of the motorcycles, and the parts are a loss for everybody, but they're hoping that it brings in manufacturing to the United States. We're not going to get political, and I'm not an industrial expert, so I'm not going to give any opinions based on that. But there is also an upside because there has been a flood of Chinese products into the United States market, which copies a lot of these European brands and shamelessly copies them. So for example, there is the TWM fuel cap that we've been offering to you guys for a number of years, but there's also a lot of copies and counterfeits of these fuel caps that are around on the market. The fuel caps, the original ones from TWM, which are made in Italy, are very affordable, around $100 to $110 mark for the CNC machine products, but a Chinese copy can be around $60. These new import tariffs are not as easy on Chinese imported goods as they are on the European Union imported goods, and the Chinese products are subject to upwards of 50% tariffs, which means that all of these knockoff products will become a lot more expensive, so that the price that you're paying for a product which is not as good and obviously is counterfeit will be substantially higher, which means there's going to be more money left in the industry for the companies who innovate, who bring you the best possible products, and have companies like us backing them, because if there's any issues with these products, you know who to call. So this is one great positive that I could see in the industry, that we're going to see a shift. But again, rising prices is never a winner for anybody. We're just going to have to brace for the impact and be calm, and let's see what happens. That being said, we're here to stay. We're here to support the sport, support the industry, and our videos are here to stay. You can expect to see a lot more of our builds coming soon. We're already working on our walk around video for our 1199R Restomod. And if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. Until next time, guys, have a good one.